Welcome to this edition of Israel Channel. Today I'm having a guest with me from Israel, traveling all the long way from Israel to Norway to participate in a conference here. And I'm so happy that we have Dror Vanunu with us. Welcome to Israel Channel, Dror.
Thank you so much.
So you have been in Israel. So you were born in Israel?
Yeah, I was born in Israel.
So you are a Sabra?
Yeah.
Yeah. And but you have also been a kind of a refugee in Israel because you were actually thrown out of Gaza in 2005.
I was a refugee 19 years ago, August 15. The Israeli Knesset decided to pull out from Gush Katif and to give so-called a chance for peace. There was the thought that by uprooting the 21 flourishing communities of Gush Katif, destroying the agriculture and giving the entire area to the Palestinians, there will be a chance for peace. But as we all know, the opposite happened, and the Gaza Strip became a terror state, which we all saw the results on the last October 7th. So basically, me and my family, together with 10,000 people from Gush Katif, lost their homes, and we had to start our new life in other places around the country.
So where have you been living the last year?
Since the expulsion of Gush Katif, we were in hotels about 5 months until the government started building the temporary homes in the place called Nitzan. It's a few kilometers north of Ashkelon. It took us about 5-6 years afterwards, after the expulsion from Gush Katif, to build our new apartments. But many other people from Gush Katif, it took them much more years, some of them even 10 or 15 years. They waited until they got into their permanent homes.
So back in 2005, everyone was talking about that peace will come to the region because now the Israeli will, pull back from Gaza, and the idea was that the Gaza Strip would become, new Singapore or whatever, and the Riviera of the Middle East and so on. But this did never happen.
Yeah. Yes, I remember 2005, hundreds of journalists from all over the world were coming and covering the story of the expulsion from Gush Katif. And the expectation was that since it's only a land battle, once the Jews won't be there, although it's a racy thing to say that if you want to achieve peace, you need to have the area Judenrein, a place without Jews. But the thought was that if we pull out the people from Gush Katif, everything will become easier and there will be a chance to build a better life with the Palestinians because they won't have any more arguments with Israel. And the opposite happened because, as you just mentioned, if somebody thought that Gaza will become Singapore or Hong Kong, the opposite happened. The Palestinians took all the money and they got billions of dollars from the entire world. This money went for weapon industry. This money went to build underground and tunnels, and all the money was for one target, to find the moment when they can hit Israel and kill as much as more Jews.
I remember, from visiting Sderot, the closest city to Gaza. There were from Gaza. They sent a lot of Qassam rockets, small rockets, which some people would say it's like a firework thing, but it's a totally deadly thing if it hits in a car or inside the house. This happened, just after Israel pulled out from Gaza. And how has that affected the region around Gaza? All these rocket attacks that have, come in waves.
Yeah, not even one single day passed since the expulsion from Gush Katif and the decision of the Palestinians to continue with the battle against Israel. I think a few months after the pullout from Gush Katif, against Sderot was targeted by missiles. The communities surrounding the Gaza Strip were targeted. And every time there were clashes between Israel and the Hamas, they were shooting missiles with a higher and bigger range of missiles. At the beginning only to Ashkelon, then Ashdod, and Tel Aviv. And it became much more weapon. And the fact was that in the last 9 years, Hamas will become a moderate ruler of the Gaza Strip, and let's give them more money, let's allow more Palestinians to get work in Israel. They will get nice salaries. They can go back to their homes and say, okay, Israel is nice. Let's stop with the terror. But unfortunately, the opposite happened. For us as Western people, we always think that when you're nice to your neighbor, he will behave the same to you. And the opposite, they saw our gestures as weakness. And that brought to the incidents of the October 7th.
Yeah. When we are talking about October 7, that was, a kind of a culmination of a long period with after pulling out and showing kind of weakness. But you also say that the Israeli intelligence, they didn't think that they were going to attack, but they were wrong. It came a major attack on October 7. And how was this? How did this be experienced by you as an Israeli?
First of all, about the intelligence, let's again, as I mentioned, in our Western point of view, there was no reason to attack Israel by the Hamas because they got much better money. They were the ruler. They were supposed to get a better life for their own civilians. And why shall they start with attack? Okay, let's say they killed on the first day 1,200 people. Let's say it was much more successful. Let's say they were killing 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. What was the reason of that? So in our point of view, of many Israelis, there was no reason for the Hamas to start this attack. But in their own eyes, for them, it's part of becoming martyrs, part of the way to destroy Israel step by step. And that's the reason why our intelligence failed to understand that although they didn't have a chance to destroy the country, but for them, even to kill people, to kidnap people, to humiliate people, that was enough for them. In my point of view, 7 October was a disaster. That morning I was already at the synagogue. 6:29 I was already at the synagogue, and first time we heard the siren coming, and we didn't know what's happening. And we ran away from the synagogue to the shelter. And after 2 minutes, we went back to the synagogue, and again another siren. So we went again to the shelter, and again and again and again. So we had like dozens of sirens that morning, and about 45 minutes after the attack started, around 7:15, one of the boys, son of one of the people who were praying with us, came with uniform, and he showed his father, look what's going on in Sderot. Palestinians have entered the city of Sderot with trucks filled with terrorists, with machine guns, and they're shooting and killing people in the streets. We didn't believe. We thought probably it was something very only in Sderot. We didn't realize that it was such a large attack, and we went back home, opened the news, opened our cell phones, because the city council asked all the people not to celebrate Simchat Torah, not to go to the synagogue, close the doors because there might be a Hamas attack, and be careful. And we opened, and step by step we have realized that it was such a massive and big attack on Israel.
So from the municipality, they were broadcasting this, or how did you know that they were saying when you don't have the phone?
Yeah, so basically they were passing by the streets and announcing the people, stay at home, open your phones, because this is our community is a religious community, and in Shabbat and holidays we are not using any electricity. I mean phones or other sources. So people had to open their computers and phones and to see what's going on.
So you think that also Hamas took advantage of this situation, knowing that a lot of Jews, they were not, updated, news by the news, because they were not listening to radio, they were not having their phone.
No, I'm not sure, because after they shot on the first day, I think 3,000 missiles toward Israel. So everybody in Israel knew something was happening. You don't need to open the phone when you hear dozens of sirens again and again. But I think that they took advantage of the fact that it was Simchat Torah, it was the holiday season in Israel, and many soldiers and commanders were in their homes, because the army wanted to give as more soldiers the opportunity to be with their families.
The reason why I'm talking about this is that on October 7, I was in Netanya in my hotel room, and I was checking my phone and I saw that something was happening. And I was talking to my family next door, living, a Jewish Orthodox family, staying there for Simchat Torah. And they didn't know anything about what happened in the south. So I was explaining to them that there was a big balagan with Hamas and everything, trying to explain as best as I could to them. And suddenly they just left the hotel. So I think they went home. They realized, that something was going on, I guess. So I was thinking that maybe Hamas also could take advantage of such a situation, knowing that there will be kind of numbers of people that wouldn't know exactly what's happening and so on, to make it even worse. And, it's also in the midst of Jewish holiday, celebration day and so on, referring back to the Yom Kippur War in 73, that also happened on a high holiday. So this was, something that I was thinking they may speculate in to take advantage of.
Yeah. Look, the fact that the Egyptians in 73 attacked Israel on Yom Kippur, and the Hamas used the Simchat Torah as the day they've chosen to attack Israel, is because probably they feel that Israelis are much more relaxed in these days. It's a holiday.
And when you realized what's happening, what did you do?
First of all, I went back home together with my wife and 5 daughters. We went to the shelter. My son was at that time abroad in Vietnam. He went to a vacation after he finished the first degree in math and computer. And I went back home, and we were there in the shelter, and again, explosions and bombs and alarms again and again. After 2 hours, I realized that something really bad is happening. As a former intelligence officer in the army, I thought immediately that probably Hezbollah is planning to do the same thing. And once the Hamas is coming from the south, Hezbollah will come from the north. I called my colleague, Ofer, was still in the reserve army. I told him, Ofer, where shall I come? He said, Dror, you just resigned from the army a year ago. You're not on reserve duty anymore. How can I bring you back? I told him, this is a logistical question. I don't care about it. Where shall I come and where? And a few hours afterwards, I put on my uniforms and took the car and drove toward the north to join all the soldiers that were preparing to cancel and to not allow the Hezbollah to do the same thing from the north. And for me, it was a very special experience, because watching tens of thousands of Israelis, people that are on their regular life, our teachers, our engineers, our professors, and living their own life, regular life, and joining the army, because we all thought that this was our second independence war.
So I heard numbers, how many Israelis that actually volunteered coming back to Israel, and it's amazing how many, before Sukkot last year, Israel was kind of divided with huge demonstration against the government and so on. And then Hamas attacks on October 7. And it's like everyone coming together again. The body of Israel, the people of Israel coming together as one man.
Yeah, that's you just mentioned about the demonstration against the government. Hamas thought that Israel was weak. They saw all the images of the demonstrations and they thought, okay, that's the best time to attack Israel because they're not united anymore. And an hour afterwards, after the people have realized how terrible is the attack, because kibbutzim were conquered by the Hamas. There was the big Nova festival that thousands of young people were there and they were butchered by the Hamas. People from all over the society corners started joining the army and realizing that they need to do all they can to protect the state of Israel. I mentioned I would like to mention a very special story about my son. My son was at Vietnam. He went with his friends to visit this country. 7:30 a.m. Israel. He got a phone call from his army base in the Gaza brigade. They told him, "Noam, come immediately. We need you in our base." He said, "What's going on?" They said, "It's a chaos. It's a catastrophe. Come immediately." He said, "I'm not here in Israel. I'm abroad." So first he was saved, because if he was in Israel, probably after 10 minutes he was driving toward his base and all the roads were controlled by the Hamas. Many of his friends that made the road toward the base were injured or even killed. But he didn't think a moment. Immediately after getting this phone call, he found a flight to Bangkok and was trying to find a flight to Israel. When he came to the airport of Bangkok, thousands, I'm not exaggerating, thousands of Israelis were fighting to get a ticket to Israel. Everyone wanted to join his unit and to fight against this terror. And the day after, it took him about 24 hours to get a flight. He paid thousands of dollars to pay this ticket. And when he arrived to Israel, my wife came and picked him from the airport, Ben Gurion Airport. She said simultaneously 7 airplanes filled with young Israelis, all of them determined to come and protect our country. And many of them, when they met their parents, they took the uniforms, left their suitcases and took the army bags and joined immediately the battle, knowing that there's no time. We need to do all we can to protect the country.
Yeah, I heard numbers like 300,000 or 400,000 people signed up for the army in just a few days.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's something around 400,000 people. You know what? When I compare it to Russia, for example, Russia has today a war in Ukraine. Russia is like 15 times bigger than Israel. Putin need to open the prisons to get people to fight for this war. Russia has the ability to bring mass numbers of people to fight their terrible war against Ukraine. But in Israel, no one was asking people to come and join the army. Everyone immediately said, "I'm here, I'm coming," and many, like me, share the same story. I finished my reserve army 2 years ago, but I said I'm volunteering, and I was at the army over 120 days. I left my family, I left my business, and I said this is our time to do all we can do to save the country.
So when you signed up for the army again, what kind of things did you experience?
Look, the first month we were in the north part of Israel, protecting the northern border. First of all, it was very special to see all the people gathering and in such a special unity. You know, when we were passing by the main roads of Israel, all the civilians, people left their homes and apartments and opened like tables, giving food and water and like saluting all the soldiers, telling them, you know, good luck, good luck. It was a special experience in Israel. We at the first weeks experienced a lot of fire exchange with the Hezbollah forces. I think that there's no doubt that the fact that over 100,000 soldiers immediately came to the northern border, that prevented Hezbollah to do the same thing from the north. And after the first month, our battalion joined the forces that were in the Gaza Strip, and we had 3 months of fighting against the Hamas terrorists in the area of Khan Yunis.
When you mentioned Khan Yunis, that is in the south, and there's another southern town in Gaza called Rafah. There was a lot of disencouragement towards Israel to not, don't go into Rafah. You can go here and there, but not Rafah. But Israel went into Rafah, and what did I find?
Yeah, I remember the campaign. All eyes are on Rafah. The reason why the world was putting so much pressure on Israel not to go to Rafah was because there were a lot of civilians there, and they wanted to so-called protect them, make sure that innocent people won't be hurt there. The fact is that the Rafah, which is sitting on the southern part of the Gaza Strip, Rafah area was the place where all the smuggling of weapons, of ammunition, of bombs, of terrorists from the Egyptian border, everything was passing underneath Rafah. And basically Israel did a great work, first of all, by pulling out all the civilians from Rafah. I think that the numbers of civilians that were hurt in the operation is nothing. It's like only few people that prefer to stay at their homes, or they were covered by the terrorists as a human shield by them. But by going to Rafah, Israel was able to find dozens of tunnels and prevent the injection of the weapon to the Hamas.
So now the Philadelphia corridor, the closest perimeter to the Egyptian border, now Israel has control of it, and every smuggling effort is cancelled because of their presence there. And we have from Hamas, we can hear their claims in the negotiations that they want Israel to withdraw from this Philadelphia corridor. What is your opinion? Should they withdraw or should they stay?
Look, let's go back to 2005. In 2005, we said that pulling out from Gush Katif will be a terrible mistake because it will become a terror state. Pulling out, even if you think about pulling out from Gush Katif and uprooting the communities, leave at least the Philadelphia corridor. Make sure that you are able to conduct and make sure that no one is smuggling weapons and ammunition to the Gaza Strip. But they said, we don't care. We have the Americans, we have the Egyptians, we're going to put cameras that will be inspecting and making sure that the Palestinians will behave nicely. The fact was the opposite. The thought was that by pulling out from the Philadelphia corridor, we don't need any Israeli army there because we have the Egyptian. There will be also an American inspection. We're going to put nice sensors and cameras that will be inspecting and making sure that no one will be smuggling anything. But the fact was, first of all, they built dozens of tunnels beneath the ground, and some of them are good for trucks and cars that were smuggling back and forth from Egypt. Second, every few days there were like so-called electricity crises that the cameras and the sensor were not working, and they took advantage in these days, and they on the ground were smuggling whatever they wanted. The fact is, when Israel came into the Gaza Strip, we found ourselves fighting against an army, not a terror group.
Yeah. So now Israel has almost control of the entire Gaza Strip. They have been to every places, pulling out. The Hamas forces are regrouping, firing again. Israel go in. In the end, they will, conquer all of them, all the resistance. This is my opinion. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It will take time. It should have been. It would have taken much less time, but unfortunately, the world is trying to help the Palestinians by supplying them with humanitarian aids and food and all that stuff. What's happening is that by keeping the supply to the Hamas and the terrorists there, they make the war longer and longer because it should have be completed months ago.
Yeah. So after Israel have full control over Gaza, what is your opinion? Should they pull out or should they stay and keep it?
Wow, that's a good question. That's the good question. I think that we've realized that every place where Israel is living is becoming immediately a terror place. It happened in the north, it happened in the south, and we need to make sure that Gaza will be under army control of Israel. So to prevent again the building of a new terror networks at the Gaza Strip. About the civilian issues, they can take care of their sanitation and healthcare and education. The massive efforts that Israel must lead is this Nazification of Gaza. Gaza today is like Germany in 1945 and Japan in 1945. These are places filled with hatred, with barbarians' attitude toward Israel and the West, and Israel must do all efforts together with our allies in the West and also in Arab countries like the Emirates and Saudi Arabia to find the way to make the population much more peaceful and normal.
Yeah, I could completely agree with you. This Islamic jihadistic worldview needs to be eradicated.
Absolutely. Last week there was a big festival that was planned in Vienna. Taylor Swift was supposed to be performing there. The same people that went to the Nova Festival and killed 360 people in Israel and 40 of them were kidnapped to the Gaza Strip, the same people, the same ideology planned to do such an attack in Vienna against tens of thousands of European young people that only wanted to celebrate. And the world and the European must understand that what's happened in Israel, if Israel won't be able to eliminate and to crash the Hamas and its ideology, the same things will be happening in Europe.
Yeah, that's something that we need to take into consideration when we, work, because we need to support Israel to prevent that happening here as well. Well, thank you very much, Dror, for your participation in this program. I appreciate your work, and we support you, and we love you, and we are standing beside you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my honor.
Well, thank you very much for following us through this program. I hope you have enjoyed this conversation that I had with Dror Vanunu, and I'm happy to see you again next week. Thank you for now. God bless you.